Whoa, so good evening folks, and welcome back to another video. As you might have, I first wanted to give a little update on the Live on Korra 5 review. It's underway, but this week and this weekend I came across something else, something that kind of bothered me as much as Jean over here did. Shout out to her. She probably explained it better than anyone else. But as you might see here, she as a brown person, light exists. Skin tone differs depending on the type of light it is on her. True. And on the amount of pigment your body produces. And of course, people are lighter in the winter than they are in summer. And two, long story short, I came across this post over here by Imperious Rex that says a word to the fan art to give a little bit of background information. Wakanda Forever is a movie action film set to be released in 2022, or at least this year. And what it does is it kind of brings the Wakandans in close contact with the Atlanteans under Namor. The problem is Namor is played by Tenoch Huerta, who is a Mexican. And you might have seen his speech at San Diego Comic-Con. Man, I've never seen such chilling for a giant corporate entity that probably will throw him under the bus anyway. But that's for another story. With his casting, which I think doesn't make any sense. And for those of you, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I've read almost every volume of Fantastic Four, also including the first appearance of Namor the Submariner. And he may have had a tan, and the only time he had a mustache and a beard, etc., was when he was in a homeless shelter, hidden, hiding his true identity. I completely forgot who he was for a moment until he touched the water. And I don't know if I'm looking at Namor over here, or if I'm looking at some kind of clown or dress for carnival. I don't see it. But what we get from here, this guy over here, this incompetent brainlet, going by the name Imperious Rex, Talking King Namor. I mean, word to the fan artist community about MCU. Namor, who will be played by Tenoch Huerta. When coloring your arts, please don't forget to take into account that Tenoch has dark skin and should not be whitewashed. Wakanda Forever. Well, he might have a tan in this movie, but he didn't start out like that. We're going back to the first appearance. Do a little Google search. Namor first appearance. Marvel Fantastic Four. He first appeared in Marvel Mystery Comics 1940. And over here, this is a picture of him. Here you see him in one of the first, probably one of the best runs I've ever read. You see him here with a lighter tan than he had before. Only later his tan became a little darker. It's a screen rant file, so it's not the best source, I know. Here it is. He has a dark skin, he should not be whitewashed. The problem is, Namor itself didn't start out with dark skin. But then he became a little bit later, when after a little bit later in Stan Lee's and Jack Kirby's career. But he didn't start out like this. And this fan, when coloring your arts, please don't forget to take into account that Tenoch has dark skin and should not be whitewashed. Wakanda Forever. Well, the problem is, who are you? This is my problem with it. I also told it right here. He didn't start out with a dark skin. I can tell I've read the first volumes, like I said. Even though I hate in that volume, there was a love triangle between Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and Invisible Girl. Who's also, family of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And it's also one of the reasons why I decided to break my love triangle up in my story. So, but there's the problem with it. mean, and I also made clear again in a little discussion I had, why the hell should you dictate how to draw a certain character? As Imperius wrecked, and as you might expect, I was blocked by the guy, and yeah, but I've no regrets for the things I said, and yeah, in fact I could care less if he blocks me. But yeah, since when does he decide? Since when he's the sole authority decide how they draw Namor as? I mean, I could draw, if I could draw. I'm better at the written words and spoken words, and even better with written words and drawing. I'm quite honest about that. If I decide to, for example, take the character of Black Panther, give him a white, change his costume into like say a white tiger, a white panther like costume, or white tiger like costume, and turn this skin color pale, and post it on my DeviantArt or my Pixiv, whatever, and decide this is how you should like this little brain that over here said in a Jeans tweet. He should not be live-washed. If I told him he should not be black-washed, I would get ratioed into oblivion if I tried to do that. And yeah, I probably called whatever is, etc. So yeah, am I going to decide? Am I going to sit on like some kind of tyrant on the throne? On the throne, that's irony. To decide to make the rules how people should draw a certain character with a lighter skin. Of course not. That's hypocritical. I can make it clear in one of my discussions over here. Trying to draw a name or don't make him light skinned as he's dark in the MCU. Yeah, since he didn't start this little brain here, yeah. Of course, after I posted that and retweeted it, this little brain over here decided to, with a Doctor Who picture, decided to yeah, go into discussion with me, and I completely buried the guy. See over here, Darkman should be made with light skinned because they're not talking about the comic name, but they're talking about the MCU name who is dark skinned. Yeah, they didn't start out like dark skinned. That's because the people behind the MCU don't know what they're doing behind Wakanda Forever. Will be a good movie, I don't know, I haven't seen it. There's not enough info out yet. But I see what they're trying to mix. Clearly it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I also made clear, if I try to make fan art of Black Panther with white skin, should I be detained all artists to make every fan art pale skin? Of course not. In fact, if I did that, it would be, yeah, like I said, then like that. And of course, what those shills think, who are chilling for a spineless corporate entity, it's not the same thing, yeah. But if I decided to make the rules, it would be the same thing. So it's a slippery slope. Yeah, gatekeeping is etc. Is art gatekeeping. There's a fine line between gatekeeping the art so that yeah, it will be preserved for future generations in the state that it's in, and turn into an elitist snob. What this Imperius Rex over here was trying to do is being a elitist snob, trying to make like some kind of dictator, trying to dictate how other artists should draw a certain character. Well, I made it clear, I'm also working with an artist at the moment, soon with a colorist on my own project. If I decide to pull that off, I'm pretty sure Nev would, yeah, would cut ties with me, and my good name will be, blown up. I don't know if there's a better word for that. So yeah. I mean, if there's one thing that artists hate, people who make fan art, etc., is people trying to dictate what they do, sitting in the corner nagging all the time. I mean, if I were an artist, I would have put him into, would have given him a jar of peanut butter. Thanks for yeah, all the help, but there's the door. Because yeah, it's also make clear. I give the people who I'm working with full reign. I mean, I give them some guidelines where they yeah, this is how the character I wanted to look. This is how I wanted to look, etc. These are the references. I'm not always the best at it, and I admit that. I'm just starting out. I'll be the first one to admit I'm not a perfect human being in that regard. But I put my money where my mouth is. And that's something those people over there can't say. So yeah. And of course, they put enough. If you put light skin, would be racist. Well, that doesn't make sense because it didn't start out with light skin. And who are you people to decide what is racist, what's not, what is appropriate and what's not? Well, you didn't even create this character. Well, you didn't even have half the knowledge about his background. I mean, you know how he lost his kingdom because an army, I don't know if it was the US or something, in one of the volumes dropped a nuclear experimental nuclear weapon inside the ocean that landed in Atlantis and blew up the entire civilization. The survivors went into hiding, and Namor thought he was the only one left. So yeah, that's how the whole love triangle starts. So even though I hate the love triangle, I understand why he was in need, desperate for love and affection. So I understand that well as well. And like I said, who are you people to control the creative process and other people's thoughts? Why should that be your business? And of course, what those people will say is, you hate it. You said of me. I said, hey, gay people. I said nothing about gay. I have nothing against gay people. Whoever they share the bedroom with is not my concern. And this discussion went on forever and ever. And in other words, I'm not art gatekeeping is a risky thing, but if there's one thing I know, is to keep people like this and people like this Rex guy over here. I don't want them get any close to my project, not even in close proximity at all. I mean, I have nothing against gay people. If you decide to, gay people, etc. I don't care if you're left-leaning, right-leaning, whatever. I don't care if you are religious or not. I'm agnostic. So I understand a little bit where people come from. I try to treat people with a certain faith like I would be treated. That's also my intention, also my standing point. I want nothing to do with those American political discussions because I've enough at home already. But if you start accusing me from hating gay people, etc., having something against trans, I'm only calling out the flaws within certain movements in your arguments. I'm calling bull. No matter if you're on the left or the right. I'm calling out bullshit when I see it, and I don't care. These two are not welcome, and should not be close in my circles, like at all. And here's another one, and because of that, you see, of course, certain artists about it. They tell people to, they tell the Imperious wrecked, and this is a moment where I'm like, oh dear, how sad, never mind, don't care. Seeing people tell Imperious wrecked, I should learn how to spell the name, but like it matters. Wrecked to F off for reasonably telling him to not lighten up MCU namer in their fan art is very thing of who they are as an artist and a person. This problem with this is one of the problems I have with this art gatekeeping police people. If you could call them that, it's a mouthful. Is because it's the latest version. They have no background knowledge about how the character started. The background is how they came the way they. How became who they were. How they got the tan later. I'll just put it right there. Is maybe because they don't want him close to him because he is telling them not to lighten up, but it's because he's trying to infringe, get into their private space, and telling them how to do their jobs, when they have no idea what they're talking about. And that's the same thing I think that happened to Imperious Wrecked. And the same thing what I made clear to this little gun milk with his Doctor Who picture. you're not my dad. I believe that the artistic freedom and freedom of creative expression is a human right, should be constitutional, and it should be constitutional, etc. And I'm not going to change it because you think you're some kind of guru or some kind of dictator to dictate how I should write or how the artist should draw certain characters. What kind of time they give him. I mean, I'm not going to dictate other people to design Black Panther as a white panther with a white skin, even though that would be a great idea. Give him like a white tiger kind of character. I don't know if it already exists. I think Bronze Tiger already exists, but that's for another topic. The second problem I have with it is a little bit more of since I read everything about what they're trying to implement it to try to bring into the story of Wakanda Forever and of Namor the Submariner. It's something I have a problem with, etc. I mean, yes, there are undersea people. Atlanteans are undersea people, but they are more closely related, in fiction at least, they are more closely related to, let's say, the Greeks, or the people from the Mediterranean, from Libya, for example. What they're doing in the movie itself, and that's in combination with African things that are already happening with Wakanda, they're kind of missing the mark of one thing, because they are trying to give Namor, I don't understand why. I mean, they're trying to give him Mayan and Aztecs, but I prefer to call it the proper name, since I can tell I read everything about their history, almost everything at least. There's still holes in my knowledge. I'll be the first to admit that. I read every book I could find in Dutch, English, Spanish, from front to back to front, right to left, left to right. I know, like no other, how the mythology of the Mayans, that could be quite of a clusterfuck. And cluster F, my bad. I hope Susan doesn't censor it. And the Aztecs, or the Mexica, like they're called. Nowadays their relatives are called the Nahua, based from the language of the Mexica and their predecessors, the Toltecs and the Teotihuacanos. Nahuatl. They were Nahuatl speakers from central Mexico. The problem with it is Atlantis was in the sea, very closely related to the Greeks and to the Mediterranean, to the Minoans, or to the Libyans. But I think the Minoans would have made more sense, considering the region, etc. And the Libyans, by implementing Aztec or Mexican mythology into it, bring it into the mix. The problem is that it doesn't. It might work from a certain point, but it misses the mark completely, because the Aztecs or the Mexica were never, according to mythology, and I believe that they were not. They were never connected to the sea, with the exception of one of their gods. There's also a god in the Mayan mythology. That name was Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of heaven. Some people say the white Tezcatlipoca. And Tezcatlipoca is the twin brother of Quetzalcoatl. During a certain cycle, either Tezcatlipoca ruled or Quetzalcoatl, because the cycle needs to continue. At the end of one rule, either one of them tricks them and defeats them. Tezcatlipoca always gets defeated at the end by Quetzalcoatl, by basically trapping him in his animal form as a black jaguar. At least that's what I've heard. If I'm wrong, you can tell it in the comment section right there. And The other one tricks Quetzalcoatl every time. Something that's also been mentioned in the Legend of Dolan, that I'm also implementing in Jaguar Warrior. But yeah, the thing is, only Quetzalcoatl come from the sea. Where the Mexica come from, where this version of Namor gets its roots from, why I think it's a big L that they're taking right now. The Mexica were never sea-based, with the exception of the god Quetzalcoatl. The Mayans know him as well. The Yucatec Mayan call him Kukulkan. The Kich from the lake of Atitlan, from Utatlan, call him Quacamats. And yeah, every tribe, every Maya tribe, and the Nahuatl tribe has a different version of the myths, but the Toltecs and the Mexica are quite similar in that regard. But why it doesn't make sense to make Namor? I'm already having my cursor on the right tab. Why it doesn't make sense to turn Namor Aztec is the Aztecs originally, according to the myths, came from a mythical homeland known as Aztlan. Aztlan, also spelled sometimes, and yeah, there are probably other sources out there, but yeah, books to find about it. But I already read everything about it. So Aztlan, it's called. This is how they migrated from the Porturini Codex. I believe that. According to the myths, Aztlan is all spelled Aztlan, sometimes Azatlan. In Nahuatl is named the mythical homeland of the Mexica. I don't like to use Aztecs in this regard. The ancient Mesoamerican civilization, also known as the Mexica. According to the original myth, the Mexica left Aztlan at the behest of their god ruler, Huitzilopochtli. If you want to read more about Huitzilopochtli, that guy had one of the most terrifying births I've ever seen. From the moment he was even his mother didn't, and his relatives didn't want to deal with him from birth alone. When he was born, he ripped out of the womb and slaughtered every one of his relatives, and manifest himself as the sole ruler of the pantheon. And he basically killed his mother by pushing him off the temple on Aztlan, or at least in one of the islands where he lived, from the place where he lived. He kicked his mother off the temple of the mountain, and she fell to her death. The reason why it doesn't make sense is Aztlan, if you can hear, the Nawa language means the place of whiteness, or the place of the heron. And whether it's a real place or not is open to question, because of course it's mythology. And according to these various sources, the homeland was a luxurious, delightful place located on a large, you see this here, lake, not in the seas, you knuckle-dragging Neanderthals. So, where everyone was immortal and lived happily among the abundant resources. There was a steep hill called Colhuacan in the middle of the lake, and in the hill were caves and caverns known as collectively Chicomotzok, where the ancestors of the Aztecs lived, or the Mexica. It was filled with vast quantities of ducks, herons, and other waterfowl, with red and yellow birds, etc. People fished from canoes, and then their floating gardens of mice, peppers, beans, amaranth, and tomatoes. When they left their homeland, everything turned against them. The weeds bit them, the rocks wounded them, fields were filled with thistles and spines. They wandered in the land, filled with vipers, poisonous lizards, and dangerous white animals, before reaching their home, the better place, Tenochtitlan. And yeah, as you might know, Tenochtitlan was the capital of the Mexican Empire of the Triple Alliance. And yeah. In other words, this myth is pretty metal, so you can read about it. But yeah, as the myth goes, the ancestors dwelt in the place with the 7 caves called Chicomotzok, however you call it. Yeah, each cave corresponded to one of the Nahuatl tribes, which would later leave the place to reach in successful ways the basin of Mexico. And yeah, all of these tribes list with slight difference from the source to source. Xochimilca, the Chalca, the Tepanecs. The Mexica later defeated them. At least, yeah. According to the myth, they also well, the ruler wanted peace with them, and they gave one of the daughters as a gift, but they decided to skin her and let one of the warriors wear her skin. And when the ruler figured out, he was scared and angry. He was probably scarred for life. Of course, Wicca, the Tlaxcalans, of course, and the group who were to become the Mexica. And Tlaxcalans and Mexica later became natural enemies. And one of their generals was the Otomi. It's also part of the Tlaxcalans. They were part of two groups formed the Tlaxcala, or at least a city-state. One was the Otomi, one of their generals, Tlalocolli. Eventually, yeah, he rather died a hero than see himself betrayed in front of his people, and let me say Montezuma II. He was he was not a saint like all. Sip of water, but yeah. But yeah, eventually. Yeah, here they mention the myth of the moon goddess, Coyol Sauqui, and their 400 brothers who attempt to kill Huitzilopochtli at the sacred mountain of Coatepec. That's it. But when Huitzilopochtli, I need to learn how to spell the name, came out of the womb, he slaughtered all of them, and he basically pushed his mother away, and she fell to her death. And he established himself as the sole ruler of the pantheon. So yeah. But yeah, to make a long story short, I could go on for this for ages. Eventually they migrated to an island where an eagle was devouring a snake on a cactus. So yeah. Yeah, the full story will never be known, because yeah, the full story is because the conquistadors burned a lot of the codices, etc., and books that were written on it. So only a few are there. So yeah. But that's yeah. But long story short, they were their homeland was in the middle of a giant lake. It's not in the seas, so yeah. Giving yeah, Namor the Submariner Mexican roots. According to multiple sources in history, between this one and Fotco, and yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical with online sources, because I prefer to double check, triple check every source that I read. This one is, I actually believe, is more or less credible. They don't tell the full story, but it gives you a little bit of an idea where I'm getting with this. For that reason alone, since it was located on a large lake, before they migrated to the basin in Mexico, according to the myths. Later, with the other, in real life, it was a little bit more hectic, because yeah, the Toltec Empire fell at the hand of the Chichimecas, and with the Chichimeca migration, all tribes migrated from the north to the basin, and yeah, one of them was what would become the Mexica that we see here today. That had their blood. That yeah, basically did what the Maya had a lot of things adopted a lot of things from the Mayans, but they gave them a little blood, and the Toltecs before them gave them a little blood brush, like I call it. So yeah, but yeah, from this reason alone, and as someone who's actually read it, to make Namor an Aztec or a Mexica, when the mythical place where they came from was the place of the heron. Herons don't live at sea, from what I've heard. And yeah, the only place where they don't live close to salt water, live in a large lake. So yeah, it's a freshwater source. And yeah, like I said, this is a little, yeah, this is a little follow up to what Jean Grey had kind of trying to get through, but I went a little bit deeper, since I'd like to get to the source of things. But yeah, for that reason alone, this movie is doomed to fail. And if someone flashes this video, etc., or tries to, yeah, terminate my account because of this, because of me getting to the source of it, that's a price I'm willing to pay. Because I don't want to see a piece of history, a piece of mythology that from a country that I hold. Not only because I speak the language, but because I visited in 28 and because I read it from it since I was a child. I want to see it tarnished by a large corporate entity like this. So, yeah, some things need to be told right here. If I have to be that guy, so be it. I know this is not me trying to and don't come to me that I'm trying to appropriating this, because I truly care about this part of history, how bloody it might be, because I know the ins and outs of it, and both on the side of the Mexica and the conquistadores, both of them weren't saints back in the day, but they were products of their time. We can look at them through the lens of what we see now. We have to look at the lens from what they were back then. And with this, I close this video. This won't be a promotion video this time. There won't be a little promotion for Java War this time, because I already gave a little bit of an insight in where I'm heading with this. So yeah, if you like to see me make more videos like this where I explain, go a little deeper into the details like this, you can leave a like, subscribe if you want to, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. And yeah, shout out to Jean Grey and to others, and yeah, I'm not going to be silent because of this. And Imperius Rex has nothing to say about this. This is why I keep him and the male guy over there. This is why I keep him out, because I don't want this piece of history, no matter how bloody it might be, tarnished by a bunch of edgy teenagers. But yeah, I've heard that some Americans moved from place like California to Mexico City, as long as they stay far away from the Great Temple, and stay far away from other places like Teotihuacan, and yeah, the peninsula. Then Mexico has a chance to save themselves. But yeah, I feel sorry for the locals who didn't ask for this. But yeah, on the other hand, it's kind of ironic as well. But yeah, if you'd like to see me talk more about this, you can leave a comment there. If you'd like, leave a like, subscribe if you want to, and yeah, I said I wouldn't be doing promotion today, but if you could give my story a read, you can go to thejawawar.com. You can go to where you can read my story in both English and Spanish in a vertical scrolling format to global comics, and make sure that you also give my hardworking friend and I a shot, and buy it on Gumroad. And yeah, physical copies are on their way, guys. There will be more printed before the end of August. That's all I have to say. Hasta la próxima, chicos, chicas, damas y caballeros. Se acabó el video. Buenas noches.